exist among us, and sometimes they win. Even the devil was an angel once. The world has its own rules, and these rules are not human. Some of us seek answers to the origin and existence of cryptids and the unexplained. Join us as we venture beyond the known and accepted boundaries. Welcome to our nightmare. I think you're going to like it.
Hey folks, good evening and welcome to Phantoms and Monsters Radio. Thanks for joining me. And I want to welcome all new listeners and members to the channel, as well as first-timers in the chat. Now, our guest tonight is going to be Beck Lawrence, and Beck owns and operates the Serpent's Key Shop and Sanctuary in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Having practiced witchcraft since their teenage years, Beck is proud to offer an inclusive space filled with substantially sourced metaphysical items and art from local artisans. With various products, events, and services to offer, the Serpent's Key is committed to being a resource to the witchy community in southern Pennsylvania. Now, Beck went viral in the fall of 2023, being warned by Hanover, Pennsylvania's police chief, that they could face charges over an arcane law from 1861 outlawing fortune-telling for profit in Pennsylvania. Now, the Hanover police chief saw Lawrence's tarot shop billed online as witchery and apothecary, featured in a local magazine, and visited the business to inform Lawrence that offering tarot readings was illegal, even though Lawrence has a sign that states for entertainment purposes only, displayed prominently in the shop. To save their business and insulate themselves from further legal trouble, Lawrence has sued both the police chief and the borough of Hanover, challenging the law's constitutionality by arguing it violates their First and Fourth Amendment rights. So I'd like to bring in my guest, Beck Lawrence. Beck, thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat about this.
Well, you're kind of new to the area, and you know, I was born and raised in Hanover. I've been here all my life. Honestly, I've known a lot of the people who were part of the police department here in Hanover and other people as well. But the fact that this has been raised just really blows me away.
Yeah, I was definitely not super expecting it, you know. I moved here in about 2019, like right after I had graduated college. And I love Hanover like a lot. Like I really do love like especially like living and working downtown. So it was definitely a kind of the first negative experience that I might have had, but I think it's overall come out to be something rather positive as a whole.
Well, let's go from the beginning. I mean, when did you open the store up?
Yeah, so following the pandemic, basically, I quit my adult job with my 401k and decided to go work at a tattoo shop because, you know, that's who I am as a person. And following that, in about October of 2022, I started reading tarot out of like a tattoo shop supply closet, essentially. In about 3 months, that got a little too successful. I got too big for my britches. So I set up basically a prototype of my store that I currently have in the beginning of 2023. By the time, you know, we built up, we started getting more popular. I decided to open a storefront in where we are currently, which is at a street level, and separate from the tattoo shop. So I ventured out on my own, and we had a soft launch in August, and I had planned on having my grand opening on Samhain or Halloween of 2023. So this came right before all of that, before we had officially really opened.
Well, you know, I had heard about, I really didn't know about the shop opening up because, quite frankly, I mean, metaphysical shops, you don't really think about that when you think about Hanover. I mean, I've been to a few others in the area, especially in Gettysburg and New
Yeah.
York. I lived in Baltimore for about 40 years, so I understand. I used to frequent a lot of the businesses down there, in Ellicott City and other places. But I found out what was going on with you through the newspaper, and I talked to a couple of people that are local who do cases with me,
Yeah.
or investigative cases. And I think one of them had actually come in to see you and to look
good.
around the shop.
Yeah.
And so I was over at Diversified getting my hair cut one day.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, support local, please. Love that.
Yeah. And I knew your shop was right beside them. So I said, well, I got done. I walked in there.
Yup.
And I wanted to look around a bit. Then I talked to you about possibly doing a book signing or something. If you and you do a lot of different things in your shop.
Yeah, I love it. I love
it's amazing.
It's just fun,
Yeah.
Part of my mission has always been to be kind of like a community center for folks of earth-based spirituality, of any spiritual path, of course, but specifically catering to folks of an alternative persuasion. So I'm just very grateful that I get to do that.
Well, you got, you do, if you love it, that's the best type of job to have. Absolutely. I'm retired, but I love doing what I do more so than I ever did when I was working, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I came in there and we talked and such, and then you gave me Rissa Miller's contact,
Yes.
and I contacted her, and several of the people I know knew her.
She's so wonderful.
She is. She's
really?
amazing. And got together and we did the Yorktown Hotel investigation. I'm going to have her on the show in November, so we're going to talk about that and other things as well. But I thought, well, why don't I bring Beck in here and have her talk about what's going on with her?
I love it.
So tell us what happened when you first found out all about this and they came to actually see you.
Yeah. So being a new business, I wanted to start getting the word out, right? That I was having my grand opening and all of that. And I thought, what better way to introduce oneself to the community than having like a formal article about the shop come out through a local nonprofit called Main Street Hanover. They did something that was called Meet the Merchant, I believe, or Meet the Maker or something, and they post it on Facebook. And it's just like a monthly little like feature of like, hey, here's a cool small business downtown. You should check it out. Honestly, a very innocent beginnings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that article came out on Tuesday, October 3rd, and I remember that day because it was Mean Girls Day as well, ironically. So I remember just like seeing these memes and my life just like also falling apart a little bit. But basically, I had gotten an email that day from the like director of the nonprofit, and she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to inform you of this. However, I got a phone call today from the chief of police of the borough of Hanover, Chad Martin, and he is going to be stopping by your establishment to inform you of the anti-fortune telling statute that is on the books from 1861. He's not going to arrest you today, but he's just there to inform you that the law is there and that he may have to come back if you don't stop. And yeah, so that was a fun email to get after, like, I remember I was like out, I had just like left therapy and I like checked my email and I saw that and I wanted to just turn back around. Honestly, I was like, I can't believe that this is my life. Like, how is this happening? I immediately like called some people and like got in contact with a lawyer. Like, that was my first step. I was like, what the heck is happening here? And they kind of like laughed. Like, they were like, this is so silly. Like, there's no, like, just let us know if he actually shows up. And then I started posting on my social media as well, because I thought I was just so incensed and like outraged. So finally, about 2 days later, on the 5th, the police chief, and another unnamed officer. I didn't have the wherewithal to ask for his name or badge number.
Mhm.
I was honestly shocked that they showed up. And they came in, they kind of had like cornered, like I was in the back corner and they kind of closed me in. And I had asked, hey, I would like to record our conversation. Do you mind if I record it? Now, I did not know that you don't have to ask the police. However, he and still insists that this was a matter between private citizens, and I'm just really not trying to catch a wiretapping charge because that I just, that was my logic in the moment. I was a little bit intimidated. I'm not gonna lie. Like, who wants to stare down the police
Oh,
chief?
I understand that.
You know?
Absolutely.
So just kind of wanted to comply and do the best I could to make it as smooth of an interaction as possible. And after they denied me my right to record the conversation or an interaction with the police, I said that I didn't feel comfortable talking to them without an attorney present. To which he sighed and rolled his eyes and said, "I'm just trying to have an adult conversation with you," which I thought was funny. I thought that was just the audacity of that in my own store was really funny. But after that, because I knew he was not going to leave until he ultimately spoke his piece, I said, "I understand you're here to do your job. I'm willing to listen." And he informed me of the statute in his official capacity. I did inform him and show him that I did have multiple signs saying, this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not like, impersonating a lawyer, a doctor, a financial advisor. Like, I went to art school. Like, I don't think anyone really thinks that I know what I'm talking about. So he basically told me that, and I quote, "those little pieces of paper are not going to hold up in court." And at that, I just said, "Have a nice day, officer." And he
So
left.
he's an attorney too, then.
Right, right. Which,
Oh
I feel
my
like maybe
lord.
that was a prediction that he made, but what do I know? I'm
Yeah.
just the local friendly neighborhood fortune teller right now. So after that, I essentially just kept posting and kept talking about it, and it really, I think, caught fire over on like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of people recognized the injustice behind this because it
Yeah.
is unjust. Like, regardless of where you're coming from the spiritual standpoint of tarot, I think people can identify with the overreach of like government in the affairs of a small business when it truly didn't need to happen that way.
Yeah, it could have been it could have been a lot cleaner, and quite frankly, the fact that somebody brought this up even in the first place is just mind-blowing to me.
Right. Well, it turns
Um,
out like there are no official reports about my shop with the Hanover Borough, which means this was a personal issue that he had with my store. So he read the article and he took personal issue with it. And we filed like a right to know or like a FOIA request, and there
mhm.
have been zero complaints in any official capacity about my store. And he also denies that any other time was used beyond his, but there was a second officer there. So I
Mhm.
always do like to point that out.
Well, how long after that did you decide that you're gonna have to file a lawsuit?
So following that, I got in touch with a lawyer, or my lawyer, Alexa Gervaisi, and she decided to offer to take on my case pro bono. So
Oh, okay.
she kind of
Great.
talked to me, and she was like, "Hey, did you know that your First Amendment rights were just violated in a really egregious way? You should probably be more angry about that." And following that, she had sent. It wasn't like a cease and desist, but it was essentially a letter, an official letter, asking the Hanover Borough Police Department to ensure that they were not going to pursue this law in a legal sense towards me and my business.
Mhm.
Um, we sent this on Samhain, actually, on the day of my grand opening, which was like so ironic. But we sent out that letter. They asked for an extension on like the deadline, so they ran us around for about 6 weeks. And finally, in December, they came back to us with a letter stating that because the statute is on the books, that they are required to enforce it. And if they get any more reports, that they would be required to come back and investigate. So essentially, even though there was never any official investigation open, there were never any reports about my shop, they still tried to threaten me with the law and are still kind of not backing down. So in order to protect me and my business, the only way to do that is to get the law off the books. And the easiest way, because it's been really difficult to talk to, legislators and stuff about this and try to because who cares about this law, right?
Right.
So the easiest way to do that is to prove that it's unconstitutional, which it is, and to do that in a court of law. So because they could not essentially promise that they weren't going to come after my business, I decided that, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to allow other practitioners to be oppressed by this law or leave the potential for that, because it shouldn't have happened to me in the first place. And I think that it would be remiss of me not to try my best to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Well, I personally believe that they thought it was just going to be a local thing, but of course it got into the New York Times, and other bigger papers, and I think they opened up a shitstorm, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they thought that this was going to get as big as it was.
Right.
I don't know that they knew anything about me before they came in. Like, they didn't really seem to have done their research because at this point, prior to this, I had already had a platform of about 100,000 followers on my TikTok page, like, independently. So the second that I posted about this, I don't know, it blew up, and I'm very grateful for that. Absolutely. But I think that it's kind of a case of like the right place, the right time. And I don't know that they had the wherewithal to understand that this could affect or really irritate so many people, because it's not just in America. I have people commenting from Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, the UK, Scotland, France, all of these different places around the world. They're like, yeah, this is Hanover, Pennsylvania. They know about us now. And they know us because of this situation. So maybe in the future we could try to not embarrass ourselves. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, I don't know how many times you talked to Chad. Just once, maybe?
It was just the one time. It was only the one time that he came into my shop. Do
you think it had anything to do with you being Wiccan?
I have no idea. I can't speculate on that, but I think it has to do with the way that I come off, right? I have tattoos. I look kind of spooky. I say the F word sometimes. And I think that a lot of that, we saw a lot of this in the 80s with the Satanic Panic, right? So I think that it's just I think it's a deep misunderstanding, one, of what Wicca is, period, and what we do at the shop. Honestly, had he come in plain clothes, I would not have been able to tell that he was the police chief. He would just look like a normal person. And maybe we would have had the opportunity to have that dialogue, on an equal level as just plainclothes citizens. But I think that his use of the badge in the way that he did was it was definitely a threat. It really was, hey, we don't take kindly to outsiders, so you better stop. I'm the police chief.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you before, I was born and raised here, so I pretty well know the routine and the drill. And quite frankly, when I first heard about it, I really wasn't surprised. I really wasn't. But nothing ever happens in Hanover, but thanks to him, it did. And the fact that you're going through this, and that you're going to stand up to them until you get this resolved. I mean, I give you a lot of credit. I really do. Because a lot of people in this area probably would not have done that, or going as far as you have.
Yeah, I definitely. A lot of people have said that to me. I was like born and raised right outside of Washington D.C. So like I feel like I might just have that a little bit more of that like debate spirit or that kind of. I don't know. I was just kind of raised around. Hey, that's not right. Let's make a change. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do so. Like that's kind of just what it comes down to. Like I feel like I have to try, right? We see so much craziness in the world around me. I've been given this opportunity to make even like a little bit of change, but maybe a lot of change for my community. And I think that's like what the most important thing is here is
absolutely
inspiring folks to get involved, especially in things that like one affect them and two that they can do something about. It doesn't have to be this big global change. It can just be, hey, let's get rid of this antiquated fortune telling law so no one else has to be oppressed by a system that's already in place.
Now, folks in the chat, if you do have a question for Beck, please put it in all caps and I'll go ahead and put it up for her to go ahead and answer. You know, when I came in your shop the first time, I really didn't know what to expect. Folks, it's a quaint shop. It really is. It's very quaint. And they do a lot of different things. There are a lot of presentations, book signings. It's just a lot of different things.
We play Dungeons and Dragons. We have a knitting circle or like a sewing circle. We also like donate to a lot of like community charities. So
I noticed that.
Yeah, we always have a donation box for a local cat shelter, and I've always had that like since day one. Like I really love them, and I love cats a lot. We are also right now doing a book drive for a local business that's been kind of struggling. They're a bookstore, and so I'm like, hey, you know what? Instead of giving to Goodwill, how about we help, other small businesses that are owned by women? Let's see what else. We're doing all sorts of really, really, really cool stuff. So I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to build that space and to we have over 50 vendors. Like I always like to say like the stuff at our shop is like very farm to table. Like all of the sage that we sell there is sage that I harvested and bundled, so that it has good vibes. All of our candles were made like right across the street, so
Let's see. Beat 3 Airspace asks, Lon, I would like to know if a list of persons or person who have complaints on her, is it known in the legal form?
So there were never any official complaints. So he was the one who saw essentially from what I can gather, like what I can piece together, from like my correspondence with the nonprofit. Because it was literally hours after the article came out, right? So the article came out in the morning, and I got the email later that day saying that the police chief himself had read the article, and he, I guess, took personal issue with it and came to inform me. So he was really the only person who had the complaint, as far as I know. Because prior to this, like I hadn't heard anything. I don't even think that I wasn't even officially open, technically, like I was I barely had clients at that point. Different story now, but yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you got so many people backing you up. I really am. I mean, that's amazing. Quite frankly, I know this area. I know things are changing, and of course, but it's still neat to see that people are standing up for you. Short Order Cook, who's actually a colleague of mine from Australia, she asked, in how many states is this law still on the book? Will it set a precedent for other states if it can be taken off the book? And the one thing I can say is each state in the United States has their own legislature. And, there are a lot of states, especially in the East, that have colonial laws and laws up until the mid 19th century that deal with a lot of weird things. Of course, we have, it's even it's even in the books now in Pennsylvania that's actually outlaws powwowing and other types of folk magic and such. So maybe we can get them all taken off the book.
100%. In terms of how many states, I know that I think it's around 6 or 7. I know Oklahoma is one of them. And I believe Arkansas as well. So a lot of the southern states do have bans or partial bans on fortune telling. And theoretically, this case can set precedent. There are other cases of laws like this being overturned. Virginia is one that we're using, I believe, in our own case. And that was overturned relatively recently. So there are absolutely ways to kind of get around this. And I want to say, like, when we say that we're suing, I'm not suing for financial gain at all. Like, I don't gain from this financially. I just want the law abolished or amended to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So yeah.
Jose Sanchez asks, it's ridiculous that these authorities have taken such a hard stance on your business. You're only trying to survive. Good luck and well wishes to you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is really ridiculous because there are literally other tarot readers in Hanover. Like I'm not the only person who does
I know.
this. I know. And I mean, like, maybe that says something about, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I legitimately, please go support the other shops. Like, go out and like shop to your heart's content. But it is really frustrating to be singled out. And again, I don't know if it's just because like I look a little bit weird. Like maybe the neck tattoo like scares people.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, like I think that people really think like, I guess I just have a vibe. I don't know. But I think had he come in and talked to me, like the way that I'm talking to you right now, this is just how I am. Like I feel like, I don't know. So I would have welcomed him in with open arms. And I think even in the video, like, of my security footage, I'm like, hi, hello, welcome in. Because I didn't actually recognize who it was at first. But either way, like it was kind of disheartening to feel like, wow, just being so misunderstood just right off the bat, like being judged for my book cover.
Yeah, welcome to Hanover. Oh,
yeah, no kidding. I thought I just live in this like blissful little bubble where I'm like, oh, everyone, it's like Stars Hollow, like everyone's my friend. But I definitely have made more friends because of this. But definitely,
I'm quite sure you have. Yeah,
definitely was quite a wake up call.
Wow. Shorter Cook asked, do you see this as a positive endeavor now? Is it a mission to get this rectified?
Yes. So I kind of now have taken this on to be almost like a spiritual duty. It is, again, it's been this opportunity that has been presented to me. And I feel like that's really special. And I want to take something that could have been so bad. Like, imagine if I had gotten angry and been like, oh my gosh, like, F the police, like, like started screaming. No, like, I'm going to get quiet for a second. I'm going to try to handle this like an adult. And when I can't, I'm going to actually ask adults to handle it for me. So I really hope that it can be an example, I guess, for people on how we can turn things that are negative and alchemize them and do, what us witches do and turn it into something beautiful and magical.
The one thing it kind of gets me is, like you and I had talked earlier, if he had just come in there and kind of got a feel for you and what you're doing and not going, if he was going to say something, why wouldn't he just say, well, look, we don't have any issues unless we get a complaint.
Right.
But just right off the bat saying that we're going to throw the law at you because you're doing this.
Right. It's so silly. It
really
is
silly.
Paula
S. asked, have you stopped doing readings while this is going on?
I have to plead the fifth on that one, actually.
Okay, well, I'm glad you did. We don't want to get you in trouble here.
I appreciate it, So stop by the shop and find out. How about that?
There you go. There you go. And what's the address? I know it's Baltimore Street. What's the address?
We are located at 8 Baltimore Street in Hanover, Pennsylvania. We are right by the square. The easiest place to park is going to be a little parking lot by Reading Medical. And it's a really nice area to walk around downtown. There's a lot of little cute shops and stuff. So, and I know the best lunch spots. So come hit me up.
There you go. Shorter Cook asked, are there any laws related to the sale of fortune-telling merchandise, like it being illegal to sell or anything?
I don't think so. I don't believe
I don't think so either.
It's not contraband, I think it is the law is an anti-fraud law, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes and I want to say it's never been independently pursued. This law is used to add on penalty to larger fraud cases. So if someone was already committing massive fraud, I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars, those scams where it's hey, you have a curse on you, and if you pay me $10,000, I can lift it, but only me and only $10,000. So if the flavor of your scam was tarot reading, they could use this law to add on an extra year to your sentence or add on an extra fine. It's not so much about the actual cards, because it is any sort of fortune telling. Astrology counts, palm reading, tea leaf reading, necromancy, of any kind. It's a very, very antiquated law.
Savage Grammy asked, were all other tarot shops harassed as well as you? And I think you said earlier you were the only one that's ever been harassed like this.
And I did know about this law prior to opening my shop. I love metaphysical stores. I'm a witch. This is what I do. It's my favorite thing. It's my hobby. It's my special interest. But so before I even opened my business, being a Virgo, I was let me just make sure that I have all my T's dotted, my I's crossed or whatever. And I looked on the books and said, oh, look, the thing that I'm trying to do is technically illegal, but this is a really old, really weird law. Let me see how all of the other stores that I go to that offer tarot readings, that I've had tarot readings at, what they do. Because, if you go to Gettysburg, there's 8 of them, on a single street. And they're all wonderful and you should all go. But I went in and I asked, I was hey, have you guys heard about this law? And if so, what do you do about it? Some of them hadn't even heard of it, first and foremost, which means, that it was not enforced or obviously had not been an issue. And the other, I kind of they didn't laugh, but they were oh, we've been in business for 20 plus years, and we have a little sign that says for entertainment purposes only, just in case, but we've never had a problem. So this really does feel like a targeted attack. It is definitely a singling out. And again, there are 3 or 4 other shops in town, at least, that offer tarot, that have signs on the front that say tarot reading on it. I don't even advertise it out front. It was the last line in an article that sparked this whole thing.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know what to think. I do divination myself occasionally when I do cases and stuff. And it just blows my mind.
I'm not special by any means. Just because I, happen to know what all 78 cards in a tarot deck mean, upright and reversed, does not mean that I am any better at it than the next person. You know what I mean?
Right.
So and I think that's why it's such an important issue, is because it could have happened to anybody, but it happened to me. So let me make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else, because this sucks.
So it seems we got a lot of Virgos in there. We got a few Scorpios. I'm Scorpio, so
I'm a Scorpio rising, which is why I look so spooky.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay. Oh my! And folks, you got any more questions? Feel free to put it up there. But yeah, this, yeah, I'm kind of blown away by it. Now, quite frankly, this would be handled in central Pennsylvania. That'd be up in Harrisburg, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna go wherever they tell me, but most likely Harrisburg. If I had
Yeah, I
to,
think it is
you
Harrisburg.
know. So
Interesting.
I know it was like the district, the Middle District Court of
Middle
Pennsylvania.
District.
Like, yeah,
That's Harrisburg.
it
Yeah.
was pretty official and scary sounding, but we're in,
Mhm.
so let's go.
Mm. Well, let's talk about your shop a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me anything. I mean, what do you have coming up? What type of things you do? I mean, I know what you do. There's a lot of other people that gravitate towards your shop that are into all this, and Rissa in particular. I have talked to her about it, and
Yes.
yeah. Tell us a bit about what you do and what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Serpent Shop and Sanctuary is, oh, looks like there's a question. I can answer that first before I go into
Okay.
that. If you want.
Shore Cook asked, other countries don't have to have the for entertainment sign. If the law is taken off the books, can this signage be taken down?
Theoretically, yes. But I think that all has to do with how the law goes about being taken
Yeah.
off the books. Sorry, my cat is just being my cat. Um, there are other states such as Massachusetts and California, I believe, that have essentially a witch's license, which is like any other business license that you can apply for. And that essentially is like, hey, I'm an LLC, like I own a business, I am an upstanding citizen. I'm trying to do this for profit, but like I'm not like here's my records, like we can essentially have a certificate that can prevent this from happening again because I can just point, hey, no, look at my certificate, I'm allowed to do this. I paid my dues, so thank you very much.
So if this law is taken off the books, and if there is a licensing law enacted, if it's reasonable, let's put it that way,
right,
would you have any issue with that?
no, in fact, that's honestly I feel like that's a good compromise. Like that's something I as a business owner am willing to do because
Mhm.
I have to have like licenses for everything. Like and
Sure.
especially in a Commonwealth, are you kidding me?
Yeah, don't tell me. I know.
Like
Absolutely.
like to sell a pothos, you have to have a garden, like a nursery license. Like it's stupid. So you know what? What is $40 a year if it means that I don't have to go through this? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that it can be. I'm not necessarily like looking for an all or nothing solution where I'm like, get rid of all of this because I think that it does provide protection for people who are getting scammed in that way, I guess. So I understand the argument there. However, it's such a broad law, like the scope of it is so big that it is unconstitutional. And it
Mhm.
can be used to violate people's rights.
Gotcha.
Aw,
B3 Airspace, yes, keep us informed of your situation line. Beck sending you all the power and good light
thank
to you.
you.
Bless you.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful for everyone who's like rally. I feel like every like mom in the Hanover area was like, no, you're my weird kid now. I'm gonna defend you. Like it's so great. I love it. Like people keep bringing me snacks. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it is. I'm glad you're getting the support you are. So tell us about the shop some more.
Yeah,
What's going
absolutely.
on?
So, I started the shop. I really wanted it to be like kind of an artist collective, I guess. A lot of my friends are artists, and it's really hard to show your workplaces without having to pay like exorbitant fees or just, who aren't going to push your work or give you the recognition that you deserve. And like, while I love art and artists, I don't like making it myself, but I like to display it and I like talking about it and I like talking about how cool all of my friends are. So we started off with like one or two small vendors, like literally people that I've known since I was like 14. And since then we've like grown to, I mean, I think we're at like 45, 50 vendors, just like all packed into that one little space. So it's a little bit of everything for everybody. But in terms of like events and stuff that we're doing, I know we've been talking about Rissa a lot. You guys, I love her, like super fangirl. She's going to be there in October, November, and December, doing some really cool classes. So one of them is going to be the history of superstitions, which we're doing October 13th. Then there will be the history of Victorian mourning culture. So that is if you're interested in the afterlife and the Victorian era, which I am. Like that's kind of a selfish thing. I was like, hey, can we do this class? Because I really want to see it. And then in December for the holidays, we're doing a like 13 unmarried monsters. So we're learning about like Krampus and other dark spirits that are associated with like the winter solstice and the darker half of the year. So like I know that the holidays aren't necessarily like my favorite time, like, you know, so I'm trying to make it a little bit more fun for the alternative folks who wish it was like Halloween year round. But yeah, I think that just having an accessible space and having I try to have events that are, you know, pay what you can. We do all sorts of like photo shoots that are for like self-empowerment, you know, where it's like, hey, if you can pay $5, great. If you can pay more than that, awesome. Like it just all goes to help local photographers. And I'm just all about working with and uplifting other small businesses too. I've been shown so much support that it would be like selfish and just ungrateful if I wasn't also feeding back into the community. So it's like very, very important to me that we continue to do that. Oh, to talk about myself a little bit, I'm so sorry. We do free classes every Wednesday. So if anyone is interested in like learning about what we do there, just like come hang out. We're there from 6 to 7. Essentially it's me presenting a topic about like witchcraft or earth-based spirituality adjacent things. So last month we did the lunar cycle, so how to work with the different phases of the moon. Right now we're actually working through the major arcana. So if anyone wants to learn about tarot, hey, come learn how to read it for yourself so you can you know, do it for you and I won't get in trouble. And then next month we're going to go through the minor arcana.
Cool. Well, look, folks, if you're listening to this, and I'm going to have Beck give you the contact information, but if you do need to get in contact with her, just contact me and I will let you know. And she does have a Facebook page, a Serpent Shop and Sanctuary Facebook page. You do have a website. Let's see. Short Order Cook asked, do you have remote viewing classes? We're remote viewers.
If you mean like online, I not quite yet, but I will work on that. I will try to figure that one out. Did not realize people wanted to tune in. Super cool. But if you mean like remote viewing, as if I can remote view, I do not know how to do that. So no,
well, I've been trained to remote view, and Delise, who's Short Order Cook, her and I have worked on cases together. And in fact, she helped out on this Yorktown investigation. I don't know if Rissa talked to you about it or not, but I do incorporate remote viewing in a lot of our even cryptid cases. So, yeah, it's something, it's different, but it's something that we use. So, yeah, maybe you and Delise can hook up at some point and talk about doing remote viewing, or maybe giving a primer on remote viewing and such.
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm in.
So tell folks how they can contact you.
Yeah.
If they've got questions or they've got some, have suggestions or such.
100%. So the best way to contact me is either going to be through Facebook, which is the Serpent's Key, or the Serpent's Key Shop and Sanctuary. Or if you want, you can send me an email at theserpentskey@gmail.com, and that's TheSerpentskey@gmail.com. And I'm also on, I'm Gen Z. I'm all over the internet. You could pretty much find me anywhere. And yeah, that's If you guys wanted to as well to like support the cause or anything, we do have a change.org petition, and that is linked on all of my social media sites. So if anyone wanted to add their signature, you can do it from anywhere in the world. And on that, there is a letter that one of my friends wrote that you can like copy and paste or print out, email to your local representatives if you felt strongly enough to do so. So there's all sorts of ways to get involved for sure.
And I will tell you, if there's anything that you want to get out there as far as information such, I'm your conduit. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome to come on anytime and discuss any of this and present it to any of my listeners, because this is the type of thing. I don't know. I always get into these type of these battles and such.
Yeah.
I'm an old union representative, and that's kind of what I do, and it's kind of in my blood. So
I love it.
Okay, well, Beck, thanks for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad we got some interest in this and continues on. And folks, if you do want to contact Beck about anything related to her in the shop, feel free to do so or contact me.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Okay, well, you have a good evening, and I'll talk to you again, and let's keep the line of communication open.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, folks, I want to thank you all for coming in tonight and for watching and chatting and asking questions. Great questions came from the group, came from the chat. And like I said, if you do need to contact Beck, please feel free to do so. Also, now this Friday night we are doing another show. It's going to be about time anomalies, an interesting subject I haven't really talked a whole lot about. I think you all like it. So anyway, thanks for showing up tonight, and until Friday night, take care.